switch gears. What is your job like right now? Everything that's changing in college sports, everything that's changing in college basketball.
Yeah, it's an adjustment, and so that's all we're trying to do is do what's best for our program, do what's best for our current players, and we simply just want to keep signing the players that we have been signing. That's kind of our forward thrust. Like, we're not trying to use the one-time transfer or name, image, and likeness in any capacity to do something differently. We feel like we're on the right path. We feel like we've made strides in recruiting. We've made strides in our development of our players. We're still graduating all of our guys. And so there's a lot of good things that are happening. The fact that it was COVID and the one-time transfer and the name, image, and likeness all at the same time was, and you can't control COVID, and name, image, and likeness was coming down the chute. They should have put more guardrails on name, image, and likeness, and they didn't. Mm-hmm. They should not have done one-time transfer whatsoever. Mm-hmm. But even when they did it, they should have put a guardrail on it of not letting people use their one-time transfer until after their sophomore year at the start of their school, their initial eligibility. And they should have put that guardrail on there, and they didn't. And so now we are dancing in a sea of chaos.
Well put.
And you don't really have the answer.
Yeah.
I think anything that gets implemented from a rules standpoint, there should be guidelines. And you say, okay, how should I navigate within these rules that you just changed? And I don't think anybody that implemented those rules could actually give you an honest dissertation on how you should proceed. And I was at the front row of a lot of those things with the committees that I'm on, and those were the questions that I asked. And I never got good answers from that. And that's disappointing, because if I make a decision on what goes on in Purdue's basketball program, I should be able to wholeheartedly give a dissertation on why it's best for our student athletes. I don't think the one-time transfer is going to help kids grow.
Right.
Guys that transfer rarely get drafted. That's been proven. Now I think more people will, because more people are going to be in the portal from a numbers standpoint, but it's not going to be the efficiency of growth, in my opinion. So it's kind of a tough hill to climb, but everybody's got to climb the same hill.
Yeah.
So, you got to work through it. I know a couple people have come out and said we need to stop complaining about it. But I wouldn't say the right word's complaining. I think you have to fight for what's best in the game of college basketball. And if you see something that's going to hurt lower socioeconomic people, if you're going to, it's going to hurt people of color, it's going to hurt the overall game, shouldn't you speak up and talk about it? If it's going to enhance our ability to grow, if it's going to enhance our ability to graduate, it's going to enhance our ability to be successful, we want to jump on that. Like, we want everything to do with that. But when you feel the other way, what are you supposed to sit there and say, hey, I'm just going to stop complaining because we just need to figure it out? No. If you're on the front line of these things and you're doing it, you're not just fighting for Purdue and the Big Ten, you're fighting for all of college basketball, all levels. I think it's totally unfair for low to mid-major basketball, what they have to go through. Mm-hmm. And, kids don't grow up wanting to play low to mid-major basketball. They grow up wanting to play at the highest level. So now once you've given them carte blanche to be able to move and do whatever they want, I guess we have said that's their ability to, that's their right, because some other sports, I just think each sport's different. And I don't buy into that. And then at the end of the day, are you helping those guys grow through adversity? Are you helping them get closer to their degree? Because 99% of them aren't pros.
Yeah.
They're not professional basketball players. Because when you're talking about your total membership of athletes, 99% of them aren't professional basketball players, and they're making all these moves, and it's basketball. And then a lot of them are going to be done playing basketball at the age of 23 or 24. There's going to be some. So, like, I understand for particular guys, and there's positive transfers. I'm not saying there's not a silver lining to the option to transfer. But when we all know how hard it is to play as a freshman, like everybody. We've seen great players struggle in our league. I mean, great players struggle in our league their first year. And then I've seen them just be dynamite their second year. Well, they had to deal with the adversity. They had to grow. They had to adjust everything. Well, now when there's no adjustment, there's only movement, where's the growth out of that? How are we improving players? How are we improving people? How are we improving our chances to graduate? So those things are important. When people pop up and say the other sports can do it, I don't quite understand that. Why can't you conform back the other way and say, well, okay, then everybody sits? Well, it's not fair to this sport. That's what do you mean? You have a consistency. Now, when you make those decisions, it's just hard.
Right.
It's hard for our roster management, but it's also, I think it's hard for those individuals when they have to reflect when they're 30 years old and they played at 4 schools in 5 years or 3 schools in 4 years. Where did they really get? Did they really help themselves? Because it doesn't look like they've been able to stay anywhere and battle that adversity. And it's just my opinion, but that's what I think.
And there's no walking this stuff back at this point.
We'll see. We will see if there's any walking any of this stuff back. They're going to have to put, and we told them, like, I sat in the meeting and listened, when President Emmert said we're just going to have to be able to get some structure with this. And I said, well, I sat on those committees and said, once this happens, you're not going to be able to get structure with this. That's the dilemma. So don't do the one thing that we could have controlled and done. It was the one-time transfer. Never should have happened.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that shouldn't have happened.
Everybody saw it coming.
Name, image, and likeness. We should have name, image, and likeness. They just couldn't keep it in the recruiting space.
Yeah.
So you had to put a guardrail onto that where name, image, and likeness didn't kick in to first day of class their sophomore year or after they transfer, the third semester after they transfer. You had to have something in that neighborhood to keep out of that recruiting space or at least soften it. But they still would have the ability to make money off their name, image, and likeness.
Right.
And because that was the only way I thought. Like right away, you'd say, well, why can't they do it right away? Well, if you do it initially, it's going to be a part of the recruiting. So now we're coming down to pay for play, and you're just buying a kid to get him to come to your place, and they haven't really done anything. And now, are they really actually going to do what they're supposed to do through your name, image, and likeness? And so, like, that was really the dilemma when you talked. But did name, image, and likeness need to come about? Yes. Yeah, sure. There's no question about it. I mean, I was a player before I was a coach, and so you're the guys that are out there playing. But don't let it diminish the value of education and the opportunity that education brings you and where that can take you in your career for 50 years after you're playing and what kind of financial windfall you can have from that. Right. You can, that's your life. And so, like, you can get something on the short end. If you're not growing through education, have you wasted your opportunity? You'd be like, well, I got $200,000. You're like, right here, well, you didn't get a degree, and now you're not a professional basketball player. Now you're 25 years old. How did you utilize your opportunity versus somebody that didn't have this opportunity? Well, you didn't. Mm-hmm. You're in the same boat that they are. You're like, well, I got my $200,000. No, you don't. You've already spent it. That's gone. You got that 5 years ago. And so I know what I would do if at that age with that kind of money, lighting on fire. And so, like, when you look at it, we can't diminish education. We can't diminish our future after basketball. And our future after basketball comes through that opportunity of getting a great education and then using the brand of the school that you went to and the context you get from that school to help you to grow in whatever business that you choose. We can't get away from that. We can't, now can we get things from name, image, and likeness? Yes. That is what we want to do, but we can't let that diminish the big picture of 99% of these guys aren't pros. They're not. They're student athletes, and they've gotten a scholarship, and now they can get name, image, and likeness. But the fact that they let them move so much and do that, the thing that the NCAA has done in the last 10 years is our graduation rates overall have improved, but our graduation rates for people of color has drastically improved. That has been great. Our improvement has been great. So now here we've really made these strides in these areas, and it's been from the NCAA. They've made some great strides in that area and great emphasis and programs. And so we've really done a great job. Now it's going to be interesting to see, 4, 5, 6, 7 years down the road, like what those look like.
So your approach to all this is just keep doing what we're doing. Everything changing around us doesn't mean we have to change.
No, we have to change. We have to change. We have to adjust to everything that's happening. We have to adjust. We have to adjust in our own fashion, but we have to adjust.
How do you see Purdue fitting into the NIL world? How are you going to approach it?
We'll approach it. We'll get some consistency is what we'll get. The one thing that I want to be sure of is the people that are already in our program that have done work for us, in the classroom and on the court. Like right. We want to get something where we have, consistency there. And then once individuals get there, now they can grow however they want to grow, because there's going to be opportunities there for us
right.
in the system that we have. We'll be very successful in it, right. But we're also going to have our own guardrails on it, and not get away from the big picture of education and what it means to be at Purdue on the basketball team.